Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Workbench here at Scale Models Midwest. David, as always, hoping you have a great weekend. Just wanted to show you what I'm going to be starting on. This will probably be the last kit of 2022 that I'll be building for the channel, and then I'll have like a retrospective video towards the end, and probably a Hot Wheels video as well, just to show you what I've got for a collection. But this one, kind of doing this for myself, because I've always wanted to build this particular Camaro. A little bit of backstory behind it in a moment, but one of my friends who used to live next door to me, JD, had texted me to tell me he was looking at getting back into building models. He's been watching my channel, he and his family. Thank you very much, JD. Love your family, love your girls, hope they're doing great. He sent me a picture of some model kits that his dad bought a number of years back, and he had a GTO and a number of vet models, and they all looked really cool. So I'm kind of doing this one for JD to kind of go into some of the basics of what we're doing. You know, he was asking about airbrushes or rattle can painting, and you know, I haven't broken in my airbrush yet. I am going to be doing that over the winter break, but this one is just rattle can shenanigans as always, and I'm just going to go from the very basics. So starting off with, just going to make sure that the car is in view. What I've got here again is the AMT 1970.5 Chevy Camaro. It's the 125th scale kit, and the model number is AMT 635L-12. Now this is the one that I got from Walmart here recently. It's also available at Hobby Lobby. You might also have it available at your local hobby store. Definitely recommend hitting up the local hobby shops first and foremost, and if you have a Walmart in your area that sells these, go check out the kiosks before they're gone, because I've already gone back to the one in Ankeny, and it's like half gone. So get out there and get them while you can. The kit itself, it's not got a ton of parts to it, and it's fairly straightforward. Kind of like the cool thing about it is that the front subframe is separate from the chassis, so you can paint the chassis pan body color with some overspray, and then of course the subframe you can paint black. When you look at the pictures, it does that pretty well just the same. So this one, I had some ideas for getting a set of aftermarket tires and rims from offthesprue.com, as well as a 3D printed engine from Joe Mendoza over at Iceman, and I am still going to do that. However, I'm doing that for another Camaro build, same car, same kit. I did pick another one up, and I figure I'm going to do that one in 2023. This one's just going to be a relatively simple build. Going to paint it most likely maroon or metallic brown. And the reason why I'm looking at maroon or metallic brown is the car I remember that was about 3 or 4 houses down from where my parents lived in West Des Moines was a brown metallic 70.5 Camaro, and it had the same tires and rims as it was there, and it was a pretty sharp car. I always liked it, and obviously, you know, you look at them and you say, man, I wish I could have had that one. And most of us can't afford those cars nowadays, so we can afford to do them in miniature, and that's what I'm doing here. So I'm going to do it in that. Comes with decals for both black and white stripes. I am trying to remember what stripes were on that Camaro. I would like to say they were black, but I'm gonna, once I have the body painted, make my decision at that time and say which one I want to do. So still up in the air on that one as far as I want to do. But checked it out. Tires looked good, and right there. The chrome tree was kind of interesting. You only had like 4 parts. You have your grill, you have a shifter, you have the split bumpers, and you have the rear bumper. Nothing else in the middle. So I'm okay with that. Everything though is molded in orange. So when you're building a kit that's got this kind of a molded in color, red, blue, whatever, you want to make sure you prime it before you paint it. If you paint it the same color, it's not going to matter, but again, you still have things to work on. As far as interior pieces, you're not going to have that orange. So again, prime it, what have you. A lot of parts that I looked at here have these little plastic pieces from the injection molding process. So before I prime them, I will be removing those. And then of course, I like the separate side panels, lend themselves well to some paint detailing. The interior, normally I do a lighter colored interior. The box art has it in white. This time I'm thinking on going with a sand beige. I'm gonna have fun building it. This is how I would have had the Camaro, myself. But you buy yours, build it the way you want. I'm gonna attach body pieces front and rear before I do go to paint it, because I've already test fit the kit, and I can put the front and rear end in place before I put the chassis in, and it'll fit with no problem. Again, it's more the injector pins that you can just clip off before you put everything in the primer booth. Or some more, especially on this one, rear leaf springs, those items as well. So going ahead and I'll do that, but I wanted to show you too, when you're building a kit, whether it's your first one or your 100th one, you're obviously going to get better as you go along. But one of the things I look at is watching some other builders, like a gentleman from the Scale Modeling channel. If you ever get a chance, watch his. He's pretty cool. I've seen other ones do the same thing. In addition to the usual flash, if you see right here, and I saw a couple more here at the end, you just kind of mark them. You know what you got to do to sand them. You can use a new X-Acto blade. Do that. Also, the lines for the trunk lids and the door panel are really thin, so what you can do is you can use used dental picks, or you can use like an X-Acto scribing blade, what have you, or even the back of a X-Acto number 11 blade. I have this one here I'll be using soon. I've used this one with really good success. This is a plastic scriber from Tamiya, and just comes out like that. Just a couple of light passes over it to deepen the lines, and that should take care of that. But anyhow, you also want to look at mold lines. The tops of fenders usually are kind of pointed. Here I'm feeling it. They're not as pointed as they would normally be, but still going to kind of run the marker along the top of both fenders, and I just kind of look everywhere else to see where there are mold lines right along the top here, and obviously on the other side I see the same thing. They're very faint, but they are there, and I like to remove those before I put anything in primer, and then after I've primed it, I'll go back over them and sand what I need to. Now, the other thing I was going to point out is I like to wash my parts and my models before I do any of this, and I've already done that today. I washed them with just some nice warm soapy water and kind of scrubbed them off a bit to get the mold release agent off, set them out to dry, and then when I handled them, I looked at them and I go, okay, this looks good. Just made sure they were dry, and so that's why I'm down here now. So I'm going to go on ahead and start sanding this and get it prepped for the paint booth for primer, and we'll go from there. See you in a few minutes. Before I go into the paint booth here, I just wanted to show you one thing. I did have a warp on the hood right here. If you see, if you press down on one side, it's up. If you leave it down on the other side, it's low. So a good fix on that is just put the warped part in warm water for a few minutes, which I'll do, and then you can just kind of slowly mold it in shape. So we'll get that taken care of, and then we're going to get to painting. Another thing on the hood is, if you see right here, I was trying to sand underneath. I wanted to try something other than just panel line washing, and as I got through it, I actually went a little too hard and broke off 2 little pieces there. So I looked at the decal and I looked at the box. This will actually be covered up pretty much by the decal. So I'm not going to worry about it, but just in case you're going for one of those detail jobs, just be real careful if you're determining to sand the bottom end of that, because once you get to that certain spot, it caught on the sanding stick, and that's user error. So just want to give you a heads up. But we're now ready to put everything in paint. I already painted, or I should say primed the interior part. Now we're going to start priming the body, and try and talk over the fan here. What I'm going to do is just a couple light mist coats on the body. Again, it's just rattle can shenanigans. I'm using to me a gray surface primer. It's always been my go-to for the body. About 4 inches away from the body. A couple of hits. And then I hold on to the base because I have in the past not. As I tilted it, I end up dropping it. And don't expect to paint everything in one coat. Slow and steady wins the race. Nice light coats gives you a good paint job as well. I've also had good luck using Rust-Oleum primers, but usually my go-to has been the Tamiya. I get a couple of cans and they'll last me a few months easy. So that's just one light coat. As you can see, the scribed lines, I did miss a couple spots. Those I can sand. That's usually what your first primer coats will help uncover any errors that you've made. Then you can fill them, sand them, reprime it, and then get on with adding your color coats. So just kind of showing you what I do there for that. I'm going to go on ahead and put the rest of the parts in primer, and we'll be back with you in a few minutes. Okay, I didn't want to bore you with the extra coats that I put on the car, but over the past hour or so I have put on 2 coats of gray primer on the orange parts, and then once this was dried I started putting on a black primer or semi-gloss or even flat on some of the other parts. As you can see over here, got still the chassis. I'll do a little bit of overspray on that, but got those parts there. Slightly less warp to the hood now, but you can definitely tell where I had the error, the goof. But like I've said in my previous videos, warts and all, any mistakes I made, you know, you're going to see them. And then over here on the chair, I've got more parts that I have in the semi-gloss black. And then, of course, the interior, I'm going to do in that sand beige. So the semi-gloss black and the flat blacks, they usually add depth when you're putting color coats on top of them, very light color coats. So I'll be doing that with the interior over the next day or two. For the body, I have 3 areas. I have right here behind the door, one little scribe mark. You may be able to see it right over here on the A-pillar. The A-pillar itself, the chrome pieces are right tight to each other, and the box art, it's no different. But I think that'll get covered up with a micro mesh, or sorry, Molotov paint pen. I will mask the engine bay and paint that a semi-gloss black. And I found some orange paint, so I'll be painting the engine block proper orange for those of us who are rivet counters and exacting in detail. Disclaimer, I'm not one of them. I'll paint it whatever color I feel like it, but I just happen to have some orange, so it'll get painted Chevy engine orange. But otherwise, body's sharp. I like the lines of the 70.5 Camaro. Looks really cool, and really like it, so can't wait to see as this one goes out. The next video that I have on this, I'll have the color coats applied to this, most likely, as well as more of the paint detail on the other parts, and we'll probably start getting this thing put together. So with that, I'm gonna let you go for the night. I hope you have a great rest of the weekend, and keep building those cool kits. We'll catch you next video.